Hello and welcome to screencast number 4 from chapter 23, the final chapter. Just doesn't that sound so good? Okay, so we've been talking about the different techniques that are used in mining, and another type of mining, and when you look at this word, you might think it's placer, but it's actually placer. That's how you pronounce it. This is placer mining, so pronounced like it's an SS instead of a CER. And this uses running water to isolate minerals. You may know this from movies of like Cowboys and Indians, when there would be gold miners that would go to streams and they would take their sifters and put it in and try to sift for gold. So that's really what this is. That's what placer mining is. So we know that gems can accumulate and metals can accumulate within riverbed deposits, and they've been there because they've been displaced by something else and then just carried with the flow of the water. So these metals and gems are mined by sifting through the material, and they generally use running water to help separate the lightweight mud. There it is. Hold on a second. Okay, hopefully that's gone away for good because I told it never to ask me again. So they will take this flowing water and they'll let the water run through it, and that helps to separate the lightweight mud and the gravel from the heavier minerals of value. In some amusement parks and maybe like I know I did this in Lancaster, they actually have troughs that have running water in it, and they plant different kinds of stones inside, and you can pay like $10 to go in and you can sift out, and you can actually get rubies and emeralds and other types of gemstones in there because they are planted in there. So that's, I don't know if anybody's ever done that before, but what you do is you just dig down into the gravel, and then you just kind of sift it around and let the water clean out the dirt, and then the heavier gemstones will stay at the bottom. There it is. Keep the current color, but ask me again if nope. There we go. I keep picking that one and it keeps coming back. Okay, so that's how that's done. It's called placer mining. When we talked about the Congo's coltan miners who wade through the stream beds, they sift the large amounts of debris by hand with a pan or simple tools, and they're searching for high density tantalite. And this is what we use in our cell phones. So that settles to the bottom while the low density material washes away. The African miners practice small-scale placer mining, similar to the method used, as we mentioned, with the American miners during the California Gold Rush in 1849. And later this gold rush went to Alaska, and the Klondike Gold Rush, which happened in 1896 and 1899. Placer mining for gold is still practiced in areas of Alaska and Canada, but today they use large dredges and heavy machinery so they can really dig down and get a lot. So there are some hazards to the environment for this. So the debris is washed into streams and makes them uninhabitable for wildlife, so it really makes them muddy and thick with sediment floating through, and the fish just can't take that into their gills and breathe, so it's inhabitable for them. And it also disturbs the stream banks and causes erosion, and it harms the riparian plant communities that are there, and those are the plant communities that try to attach to the bottom of the streams and to the sides of the streams and on rocks, and these provide places for fish to hide and food, and so it disturbs that, plus photosynthesis. So here are two gentlemen that are doing the placer mining for minerals, and you can see how muddy the water is and how they turned up the side and the plants that happen to be torn up with that. Okay. So the next one, and I think of all the mining, this one really bothers me the most, and this is mountaintop mining, and this reshapes ridges and can actually fill valleys. And we're really tearing up our Appalachian Mountains in Virginia. We're going to see a picture of what it looks like, but this what happens is in the mountains, there's underground seams that are near the top of the ridge or the mountain, and these seams contain coal inside of them or other important minerals. And what they do is they do the mountaintop removal mining, in which several hundred vertical feet of mountaintop are just literally removed to allow for the recovery of these entire seams. The U.S. has mined for coal in the Appalachian Mountains for a while, and we know that these are in the eastern United States, and they've actually destroyed an area the size of Delaware. That's how big and how much of the mountains that they have mined, and I think that's really sad. What happens is that they actually clear cut the forests. The timber is sold. They remove the topsoil. The rock is repeatedly blasted away to expose the coal for extraction. Overburden is placed back onto the mountaintop, and that waste is actually unstable, and it typically takes up more volume than the original rock. There's a great deal of waste rock that is dumped into adjacent valleys. This is called valley filling, and I believe that's on the next slide. So this valley filling actually destroys other areas. The excess rock is just put into these valleys, and if there are metals or anything in it, then they can leach into the water streams. They've even buried about 2,000 miles of streams that run through these valleys. So they've again destroying the different habitat and make it uninhabitable for fish and other organisms to live there. This has been expanding rapidly because it's actually an economically efficient way for companies to extract coal. Now, the 1990 Clean Air Act amendments that encouraged clean burning of low sulfur coal led to more mining in the Appalachian Valley, and this is where we find the low sulfur coal. So here's a picture of the mountaintops. This is in eastern Kentucky, and they've just been cut right off, the trees to forest it. You can see the debris and the rock just dumped down here in this valley area. And then this is a train that is going to haul the coal past homes in West Virginia. So they're getting coal dust. You can even see some of the coal dust on the roof of the houses. What dumping debris does into the valleys is it degrades and destroys even larger areas, and as I said, it pollutes the streams, it deforests the areas. This causes erosion, mudslides. The trees we know help to hold in water, and now these areas are going to experience flash floods. The valley filling has been challenged under the Clean Water Act. The reason hold on 1 minute, I'll be right back. So they said that they feel that this valley filling has been is challenging the Clean Water Act because runoff flowing through the waste rocks in the valley often contains real high levels of salts and toxic metals that actually degrade the water quality, and they impact the aquatic organisms. There have been hundreds and hundreds of permits that were issued for mining during the Clinton and the Bush administration. And in 2010, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency put new guidelines that would prohibit valley fills unless strict measures of water quality control could be obtained. Some other things that I wanted to talk about too is that people that live in these communities near the mining sites, they experience a lot of social and health impacts. The blast from the mines crack house foundations, also wells where their water is located. The loose rock tumbles down into their yards and their homes. The overloaded coal trucks aren't a pleasure to have speeding through the town. Down peaceful rural roads. They're big trucks, they're massive. The floods tear the properties. The coal dust causes respiratory illness. The water, as we talked about, being contaminated will also unleash a variety of health problems. So the landowners are pressured to sell their land to the coal companies, and not always for good prices. So people will lose the forest and the landscapes that they've lived with since childhood. People of the Appalachia have long been part of the coal industry and relied on them for employment. So with mountaintop removal, though, since it's so highly mechanized, they don't need as many workers for mining. So as a result, unemployment has declined through the years, even though coal extraction has arisen. Already, the Appalachians are about the poorest area in the United States, and they suffer really substantial external costs from mining, while the rest of us benefit from the electricity that is produced by that. Okay, I'm going to end this one here. We're 12 minutes in, and I'm going to start with solution mining, and then we'll talk about mining the ocean in the next screencast.